did not see party thirsting for them.
Hmm.
So hey everyone, welcome.
And we get started.
Sad Garson,
Sad Garson,
is
now happy Garson. Hello everybody, welcome to episode, I believe we are on episode 8 or 9 of Forgotten Table Tales. Which is, actually, to be perfectly honest, I thought I would have burnt out on this by episode 3, so hitting double digits soon is actually a big accomplishment, and I'm happy about that.
It's because we're talking
Hooray!
about lewd stuff, which everyone gets excited for.
Exactly.
Not everyone.
And speaking
Not
of
everyone. Asexual people exist. Never mind.
And speaking of, much like a bard who has rolled all his 20s on his charisma checks, I am hot and ready to continue our final look at Kinks and Cantrips.
Hey
Hey,
yo.
yo.
Hey, yo.
No context will be given at all. Hello, Lewd Boss. So, yeah, briefly speaking, for those of you who were not here last week, let me go ahead and give you a quick rundown of what we're doing today. Last week, we were tackling some more of the subclasses of the Kinks and Cantrips book. We ended up finishing up with the sorcerers, and now I believe we are heading off into, I think we have no, warlocks. We're ending up with the warlocks and then the wizards, and then we'll have every class taken care of, and then we'll be looking at some of the magical items today. And then after we hit some of the magical items, we're going to be spending a few moments to give our final thoughts on the book.
Yay!
I think we've been at this for about 5 episodes at this point, so
It's been a lot.
yeah, there's been a lot.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to have a lot to say about it. And then briefly, we're going to be showcasing our next book, Obojima, which we'll be talking about next week because I finally was able to pick it up. But that's
I love we're giving the creators of Bundhiem the spotlight, so they just look like, oh, hooray, a little bit of advertisement. What's it on? Why is there so much sex?
Don't worry about it. Hey, look. We're just giving fair game. We highlighted one third-party D&D book. Now we're gonna highlight another third-party D&D book. Don't look at the actual content. We're just giving third-party creators a spotlight because they deserve it.
right now. That being
Don't
said,
worry about what it's about. Just move on.
with that being said, yeah. So I want to briefly start this episode by saying this. I'm actually shocked at the amount of stuff we were able to talk about in this book. It's been a lot of sex. And there's really no other way to describe it, so I'm not going to bother with that. But at the same time, I wanted to just take a brief moment and say it like this. The book has been actually really well thought out for a third-party book, because 9 times out of 10 third-party books, they have some good moments in there, and there are a lot of good ones, but they're passion projects, and depending on whose passion you're reading, you may either get a really good one, or you may get a pretty, not so good one. So I'm happy that this book turned out pretty good. I'll save the rest of my thoughts for it when we get to our final thoughts in the book itself, but I just want to say through all of it, Bundhiem does seem like a really fun setting, and I hope we get to at some point check it out on a site that isn't completely I'm afraid to use the word butthurt. Anyway, moving on. Let's tackle the first class today. So we briefly talked about the warlocks last week by looking at the soul of the Slithering Cross. How was that?
Slithering Sublime.
Thank you. Slithering Sublime Warlock. Today we're looking at the last 2 warlocks, which are the one which is the Alabaster, and I believe the other one is called the Contract Warlock. So we're going to start with the Alabaster Warlock and just briefly go over it. And this one, I think, is probably in the category of, this is a very weird class, but I guess I can kind of see it being the case. Shitter, do you want to take over real quick and start us off by briefly describing what the class represents?
And I'm immediately drooling on the ground with this class. I'm already starting out great. Okay. This class is very much the hypnosis class. And I am someone who loves hypnosis. I have dabbled in it. Oh, fuck. When did I start dabbling in it? You know, this is going to set off a lot of older people vibes, but like older internet people vibes. Do you remember when YouTube didn't have like any content warnings and whatnot?
Ah, yes, the good old days.
Ah, yes, the Wild West.
See, the thing is
I
that
remember
a
that.
lot of parents didn't really understand it. So I got into erotic hypnosis when I was like 14, 15.
What?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, a
Here's
lot of
the
it is just audio, just people talking, and since there's no lewd visuals, YouTube's like, yeah, whatever.
and the thing
Huh.
is that I actually still use both erotic and normal hypnosis for either comfort or sleep or anything like that, really. And it's been that way since I was 14. And it's really weird to think about that because one, I'm old, and second of all, that was like, oh fuck. 20 That's like 2010, 2011.
Oh Jesus! I Makes was me feel
But
feel
Oh.
in
old.
high school. I was still in like elementary school at that point.
I'm not
yeah,
revealing
but
my age.
Fair enough.
but the thing with hypnosis, I will say this. I respect that I love that it says that it's a growing trend in BDSM circles, but um very much it's a case uh of domination, but also it's very much a case of giving yourself permission something to do that you wouldn't normally give yourself permission to do. Because oftentimes a lot of hypnosis is sure they put you down into a lower state of consciousness and bordering on sleep, and there's argument on whether or not that's a placebo or not, but it's giving, even if it is a placebo, it's giving yourself the permission to do that thing that you wouldn't normally do. And as it says, this in turn can remove shame or act as a deep form of dominance that takes root at the mind rather than the body. I'm going to come out and say this. I have several uh like deep rooted this is a word that's been taken from the hypno community, but like deep rooted triggers that for certain songs will actually still invoke a response into me 12, 13 years later.
Jesus.
It there's you need to undergo like another hypnosis thing or just let it fade with time. Either way is acceptable, but oftentimes if you don't want it to fade, again leaning into that placebo, it doesn't. It won't fade with time. And that's the case with me. I'm not going to say what those are because I'm not having people take advantage of me. Because that's very fair.
That is 100%
But
Yeah, that's
fair.
Yep.
fair.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that in this house.
yeah, but it's very interesting that those have still that if I wanted to, I could tell you both what the trigger is and what it does and where I got it. And that is something that is so fascinating about hypnosis. And I love how in this class, not only the introduction is that like slow, it's not like an instant loss where you're an instant drop, like, oh, it's that slowly taking away each barrier. And each spell kind of does that. And the class features are amazing for it as well. Like, I am genuine. This is a class that I love more than anything. and as someone who has engaged with it for so long, it's very accurate in a fantasy way.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, now that we've established what the class is based on, let's actually look at how it translates to gameplay. So let's take a look quick at the class features. And we'll start with the expanded spells. Now, obviously, these ones are pretty much going to follow the hypnosis command, and it basically showcase it. You have command, you have sleep, calm emotions, mind whip, catnap, sending, confusion, dominate blast, dominate person, modify memory. All of these basically are in one way or another tied to the concept of hypnosis and allow you to maintain control over the battlefield that way. But
Garson,
what?
we can't control fireballs. You said dominate blast.
No, I said dominate person. I said dominate person.
That
Before
spell's
that.
not on there.
Dominate beast.
There
Yeah, you
go.
said dominate blast. So I'm like, we can't control
like, wait a
fireballs.
It's like, wait a minute.
Fuck off anyway.
Listen, the moment. Listen. The moment we were able to control Fireball, all hell on Earth has been developed.
Fair enough.
Hi, Hiroshima.
Stop
Must
it.
explode. Anyway, okay, but let's go back. Well, all right, but like, do you notice one thing that I kind of find amazing about all this? Outside of maybe Mind Whip, because I don't know if that's a damaging spell, none of these are damaging abilities. They're all command abilities in one way or another. Because obviously you have
They're all debuffs.
yeah, in one way or another. But like you have stuff like sleep and catnap, which honestly I think is just more advanced sleep. I'm
That's
guessing.
cute.
No, cat. I love this because it's taking the sleep emotion, like the sleep, like go to sleep and have it have no effect, to then a calm emotions, which is basically them like soothing you down a little lesser, like dropping you calmer and making you feel basic emotions that they want you to feel. But then catnap is basically you go from, oh, I need my short rest to take an hour or 10 minutes to either 10 minutes or 1 minute, depending on how you rule it.
Which
So it's going,
that's interesting, actually.
yeah, so it's going
Also-
from just sleeping to influencing how that sleep affects the person.
Mhm.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I did want to say as a quick aside, I just looked it up. Mind Whip does do damage, but it also makes it so that the target can only do a movement action or bonus action on their next turn, not all three.
Well, that's actually
So it's
that's pretty good, actually.
yeah, it is another form of mental control.
How much damage does it do, Cross?
3d6, but then you can upcast it to get an extra sorry. It doesn't do more damage when you upcast. You could target additional creatures when you upcast.
Okay, so we're looking at a max about 18 damage for a level 3 spell. That's pretty good, all things considered. And then the ability to like prevent them from taking a full action is really good as well. Now, obviously, sorcerers don't have to worry about this because we have quick and meta magic. But for every other class, that's pretty much going to guarantee that you're not going to be able to do much. Maybe a rogue and a monk might have something they can do, but that's corner case potential. But basically all of these spells are like super damage dealing spells. These are control spells. This is like the blue mage, the blue magic from Magic the Gathering. This is like this would be what Jace would be doing. And so that also reels into the next main component of the ability, and that's Enthralled Companion. And so this one basically allows you to control, I believe, one of your party members, or
not a party member.
You control an NPC. This is choose a humanoid that is large or smaller and has a challenge rating of 1/4 or lower. add your proficiency bonus to your thrall's AC, attack rolls, damage rolls, saving throws, and skill checks it's proficient in. And it's funny that you say that this is a like just a battlefield controller because this takes it to another level. Basically, um this is saying like, yeah, the spells are going to control the battlefield with minimal direct damage. That's because every single one of those spells is basically saying like, you can trust me. I'm the safe one. Look at my companion who wants to hurt you. Trust me instead and I'll make you feel better.
Hmm.
I kind of like that, but here's my but okay, but challenge rating 1/4, that's kind of a bit, that does limit your options. I don't know exactly what would be like on the top end of that, but like I think it's probably, we're looking about maybe like goblin level of like about as max, because I think goblins are like 1/4 challenge rating, correct?
Let me take a look.
Honestly
Let's
though,
see.
I can't be too upset. And there's a reason why I say that. There's a reason why I'm not too upset about it. Is because if one, you can verbally command your thrall to move, which no reaction required by you, or you can use your bonus action to verbally command it to take the attack, dash, disengage, or help action. And if you don't command it, it just takes the dodge action, which imposes disadvantage on any attack rolls that come near it. But also, if you're incapacitated or absent, your thrall acts on its own. It never requires your command to use its reaction, such as when making an opportunity attack. So it's not mindless like a familiar would be, or the companion that the artificer has. And also, if your thrall dies, you can obtain a new one by simply charming it. It doesn't say uh that that the charm has to stay. It doesn't say and you may free your thrall from their hypnosis at any time, though they will be aware of what you did to them when you do so. So basically, you you basically like let me just take a quick look here because I think the command spell is even a charm like uh feature. No, the command spell isn't, but you have charm person.
Mm-hmm.
You have another spell that's right there, which is calm emotions. So calm emotions is a charm spell. Like you can suppress. Okay, and that, but i- it's very much a case of you just need to win for a brief moment and they're yours. And that's why I kind of like that it's a 1/4 or lower, because that way you don't have to keep going over and over and over trying to charm this person. Like, drop, you fucking idiot. But
Right.
but instead you just get them for that brief moment, you win, and you just move on.
Well, okay, but here's the problem with that statement. I think this kind of goes to the class itself. It seems like the enthralled companion, since it's basically set to level 1, is meant to be a key component of this particular class.
Yes.
So
Yeah. As you
here's
look into the. Okay.
here's my argument with that. If I'm gonna do that, why do I not just have why don't I just have a familiar? Because it seems like this is just a more convoluted version of the familiar ability.
It is. Here's so yeah. So I will agree. I did want to bring this up that a lot of what is said here about adding your proficiency bonus, you can command it as a bonus action. It shares your turn. That shows up a lot in a lot of core classes, like a ranger's beastmaster companion, or like an artificer. If they're a battlesmith, they're steel defender or something like that. So this setup is pretty common, and you can other warlocks could just do Pact of the Chain with Investment of the Chain Master to do that as well. So so it does become a little dependent on like what NPC you're actually able to charm. The benefits I can see for this instead of like a familiar. One, it's a person, so that's a person that can be sent in. Not normally you think of familiar to be like scouting or whatever, but instead of just being an animal, it's a person that could go and interact with people and get information that way by actually talking and just normally interacting. Also, as far as like options of who you could charm, I'm looking at like a challenge rating of 1/4. We're from the Ravnica setting. That's a frontline medic. That's that's an AC 20 warrior who has healing spells.
Okay.
You get a Boros soldier underneath under your thrall. You have a whole set of healing in your back pocket.
Okay, nobody attempt that. I will find a way to crush you with a rock. I'm looking at all four of you. I'm looking at all four of you. You have a notorious. Yes, go ahead.
No, let me guess. Boulder control.
Yes, probably.
You asshole.
Don't blame me.
You mean don't blame you?
But
You're
that's
the
the thing.
DM.
Yeah, exactly. This is the thing with this kind of class where the usefulness isn't apparent immediately. And this plays into actually the spells in question, because you're not supposed to be this. You're not the. This takes the warlock, which is normally a charisma class, and it makes it so that you cannot be the face of the party. You physically cannot be the face of the party with this class. You have to have others under your control. The face is a figurehead, low level, low unimportant figure in the grand scheme of things, doing your bidding. I'm going to be entirely honest. This Cross, back me up on this. This screams Demir.
Oh.
Yeah, this does.
Oh.
This does scream Demir.
Oh god. Oh god.
No, this and Demir you do have warlocks, so this would be 100% a Demir in the Ravnica setting. But I also like the fact that as you get stronger, you can have access to the bigger challenge ratings too. Like if you hit 11, you get a challenge rating of 1, and then when you hit 17, you get a challenge rating of 2, which, like at higher levels, you automatically are probably going to be able to tame some decent stuff. I don't dispute that. I just think that, can you get to that with what you have here? So I think we should, and that's my main concern. But I will say this, yeah, it definitely seems like at least there's some options here. I like options. If a class has options, that's a good thing to me.
Yeah, this is a class where its power comes from slowly building over time. Because right away, sure, you have an extra 1/4 AC person. Other people go, well, why don't you just have a familiar? But then, as it starts to weave its way into the story, as you have another person who can tug a string, as you have another person who can distract, as you have another person who can gain information that you don't have access to, and they all do it willingly because it's a thrall. It's under your control. And you can free them at any time. But this is an infinite charm person beyond just being a friendly acquaintance. And they fight for you. That's something that many classes can't get. They will also do stuff on its own when you're not around. It will follow your orders. That's something that takes a lot of time with a familiar to get. It can talk and give your orders. That's voice of the that's an invocation. That's a slot of an invocation taken with either what is it? Like master of the chain or voice of the chain master. You know what one I'm thinking of, right, Cross?
Yes. Yes. Investment of Chain Master.
Yeah. So it doesn't seem like much at first. And then if they die, well, huh, that's interesting. They left a little something for me to tug,
Tug
and
her
I can get
nuts.
another and I can get another one to tug another string. Oh, and then at level 6, they can't be charmed by anyone but me. So they are completely on my side.
Right.
They are and then you tug again. And it keeps building. It's a class where sure, on its own, if you get this person separated from the party, they're not the most powerful. But just like wizards and sorcerers are they really going to make that so easy?
Well, and that brings, and let's move on to the other abilities. I think we've talked, the core mechanic of this is the thralls, but what can we do to support that? So obviously, as you mentioned, 6th level, they're no longer going to be able to be charmed by others. Like I mentioned before, and I'll say again, immunities to status effects, regardless of who gets them, are a great addition to any class and should be considered for severe consideration. But let's look at Devil's Due. And this one I think is kind of amazing. You have learned to consume the pleasure your thrall is feeling. So I'm gonna be gross here for a second and just ask a legitimate question.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say hypothetically that you send the thrall in to seduce someone.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not gonna finish that because I'm realizing how creepy that sounds.
God damn it, Garson.
I'm sorry.
Should've brought it up-
I thought
should've
about
brought
it.
it
I
up
was
in the
like,
first place.
no.
There's no way to make it sound good.
No, but I don't think
No.
I can describe
Should've
without.
brought it up.
Yeah, I don't think I can describe without describing a crime either. So, yeah. Anyway,
Okay, so the long and short of this is that you get to basically go full succubus,
Mhm.
and that you're draining pleasure from your thrall and using it for either healing yourself or damaging enemies.
well, that's nice.
Uh,
Options, like I said, options are always good.
Yeah, yeah.
Options.
Uh, options are good. I also like succubi and energy drain kinks. So this is this makes me perk up like, wait, what? Oh, okay, cool. I can do that.
And to support that, we have
These are the keys.
and to support that, we actually have a combo of 14th level abilities and Stoke the Fire and Passionate Defense. Stoke the
Mhm.
Fire is pretty simple. As a bonus action, you can add 1 pleasure point to your thrall, which builds up the Devil's Due ability. Or
Yes, so basically every turn you're giving yourself a D6, which is insane.
right, and the best part is that it's a bonus action, so you don't have to worry about your
You don't
resources
rare.
going by too quickly. But then Passion Defense says, if your thrall makes an attack against a creature that dealt damage to you within 1 minute, so within 10 rounds, then their attack rolls have advantage and score a critical hit on 19 and 20. That is amazing. Because
Yeah, if you're
I don't know how else to describe it. That's a powerful ability.
yeah, if your thrall is some NPC that that has like good weapon attacks, like you get like a reasonably skilled guard or somebody, they're gonna be dishing out some damage.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's something else in there that combos with something that went actually unnoticed, and I'm surprised it did, Garson.
What's that?
At 11th level, you can enthrall a humanoid up to challenge rating 1 or lower. Cool, that's great. And if you command your thrall to take the attack action, it can make 2 attacks.
So that means if you get hit, you guarantee 2 attacks with advantage with increased critical odds. That's amazing. I love that.
There you go.
And it also says, or it can take the multi-attack action if it has that action. Some level 1s and 2s have up to 3 attacks.
True.
So yeah, the other thing and here's the thing. I feel like this is the rare case where the capstone ability is not level 20. Level 14 is still not easy to get to, but it's a lot easier to get to than level 20. So you could be being a very big important part of your group's just overall damage and survivability just off of this ability alone. And there's a very good chance that you could potentially have it. I like this a lot. But and I say this and I don't say this to disparage the class, but I will say this. There is a lot of risk in this too, because you are always going to have access to good thralls. You might not have a good option, so you have to take the best one you got, and you have to have that thrall, which means that if you are in the middle of a dungeon and there isn't like a humanoid character around that's like a half a challenge rating, you could be severely hampered if you lose your thrall in a dungeon crawl.
True.
Oh my god, that rhymed.
That
My brain.
rhymes.
Oh god, my brain.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Alright.
This is very much a class that it feels a lot like the Slithering Sublime, where
That's hard
Sure.
to say.
yeah, it's a real tongue twister. But then again, so are those tentacles. But anyways, this is a class where if it sets up, you aren't going to know who to hit and where to hit them. And it will be terrifying because you could potentially drop and be their thrall with Dominate Beast and Dominate Person alone. Like, hello. But also, this class also, it takes time to set up. And there's no disputing that it takes time to set up. It's going to be a backline caster even at level 1. And that can be dangerous. But at the same time, that's what makes it kind of interesting, because everyone loves to talk about, oh, how the Hexblade Warlock is the best Warlock, and you should always go for the familiar, because the familiar is the best way to do it, and you're only doing it for the story. But if you slowly get there, you then start to realize, oh, the Warlock has other ways of being way more effective. So at low levels, this is a dangerous class to take, but it's a fun class. Just like the risk with low-level hypnotic play in fantasy. But if you allow it time to grow, if you allow it time for the suggestion to manifest, then you're going to find a real winner.
And that's knowing is half the battle.
Yeah, Joe.
Sorry,
The other-
sorry. It's just the way Chitter said that felt like an after-school special.
Yeah. Well, you see, knowing is half the battle, my sweet Garson. The other half is breaking free.
Fair enough. Now let's move on. Let's move on to the next. Let's move on to the next one. We're gonna move on to the contract wizard, and this
Warlock.
Contract warlock. Sorry, I've got wizards on the brain.
He doesn't understand.
Oh, we'll
it's
get
fine.
there.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
we'll get there at some point.
Eventually.
Eventually.
So, if
So
Cross?
yeah, the contract warlock. If you don't mind, Chitter, I can lead on this one.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. So when you think of warlocks, you're already thinking of making a pact with some otherworldly being. So having a subclass called the contract warlock already raises eyebrows. It's like, wait, aren't you already doing that? But it's like, okay, yes, but now you're the one brokering deals with now other people, other creatures, to get some kinds of benefits. So yeah, you're taking that you're taking that kind of give and take relationship and putting it on other people now. So that's where it's a little interesting. And it says there in the author notes that kind of agreements and contracts, it is a kink in and of itself. Like obviously you want to sit down with your prospective partner and have an understanding of what you want to do, how you want a scene to go, whatever like your boundaries and limits are. Yeah, that's already required before you go into anything. But that act of doing it can also be exciting in itself because you're putting it down on paper, especially if it's a like dom and submissive thing. You're like, oh, you're signing away like like a piece of yourself to get into this exchange, which can be exciting in and of itself.
If I may, Cross.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is gonna tell you how much I've done. I've actually done a few of these.
Of course. There must be a day that ends in Y.
Here's the thing. Cross was absolutely right with those things. As someone who has actually like done that like contract thing and actually with a proper dom in a submissive role like gone through the making of a contract, talked about various terms of the scene, what limits. This is very much a case of this is going to step outside of scene play. This is not contracts are very rarely done for just a single scene or done for just in the bedroom. This is very much a case of long-term submission where you are take where it could be as extreme it genuinely can be as extreme as you tell me when I can eat, when I can bathe, what jobs I'm allowed to take, what times I'm allowed to sleep. It can go that extreme. I personally have never done it to all of those extremes, but I've done contracts where they've told me how long I'm able to sleep, when I have to wake up, um, what food I'm allowed to eat. Uh, the pleasure one is obviously implicit how when I'm allowed to engage in pleasurable activities, if at all. But it extends you don't really have a limit, and this is a play, and this is something that I genuinely love, is that the more complex the kink, the more complex the class. Because even the note to game masters, the final sentence is, as well, this is not a subclass for beginners due to its complexity. The kink is not for beginners due to the complexity and the needing of you to say, these are my limits. A beginner does not know their limits and it can get dangerous fast. This is a
Yep.
kink. This is a kink that won't necessarily kill you, but if you're not careful with it, you'll be fucking wishing for it.
So let's take that into consideration when we look at the gameplay aspects of the kink itself, or the class itself. Well, you know what I mean.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're fine.
So much like before with the other spellcasts, we have access to a bigger spell pool. This time around, we have some more support spells: Identify, Detect Magic, Calm Emotions, Detect Thoughts, Sending, Speak with Dead, Divination, Locate Creature, Legend Lore, and Telepathic Bond. And already you can tell, like, none of these are damage dealing abilities, but that's okay, because I think, as stated before, you don't need to always be the major DPS. Being a sub DPS is oftentimes more than enough than what a team will need. And think of it like this: if you look at all of these spells, these are really good support magic. Detect Magic
Yes.
obviously gets the best like best nomination, because you oftentimes, if you find a magical item, which we will get into some of those later in the episode, but you want to have that ability, because otherwise you might be sitting on a really powerful weapon that you know nothing about, and you will not be able to figure it out until you take it to get identified at like a shop or somewhere. So obviously, but the thing is that no one wants to waste a spell on this. By that I mean they don't want to like have to waste a slot in your spell book just for detect magic, because sometimes it won't come up. So getting it for free is fantastic. Speak with Dead can break campaigns. I know that for a fact. Divination. That one I actually love to mess with my players with. If you have divination, I will answer your question, but I will be really vague about it and may also speak in rhyme because I am that bit of a snarky bastard.
Yes, you are.
And just that in general, those are really good all around overworld support abilities. Nothing too bad. The one I'm not
Legend lore is ridiculous.
It's really good.
Okay, so I'll level with you. I've never seen anyone use that before, but I think I know what it does. Does this?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was about to say, just tell me if I'm wrong on this one. I think it basically allows you to immediately identify like the legend aspect of what might be like let's say for example you're on Ravnica and you had this ability, you would probably be able to like identify like an old guildmaster's story and learn like everything about them, and then maybe I start a subquest where you go look for their weapon. I'm guessing.
Yes, something like that. That would be one application of legend lore. The basic setup is that you name some thing, some person, place, or thing of legendary importance, and you get information about it. And the more you already know, the more specific information you can get. Okay, so it's specifically designed that you're never getting any redundant information. So it's one of those ways where you're just learning more and more about something that's really important.
Okay, well that's good.
Which is broken. Like
it's really good. That's why it's a 5th level spell. It's really good.
Can't argue with that.
Because here's the thing. It says the lore might consist of current tales, forgotten stories, or even secret lore that has never been widely known. And this is a class that is actively going for information about people. Even from the very first ability, it's going for information about people. By the time you get this, if you're going for a target, you're going to learn shit that no one else knows.
Yep. Because, sit and think about it for a second. This is the subclass about making contracts with people. So, okay, you want to know who you're dealing with to know the terms of your contract and how to best get all the benefits from whoever you're contracting with. Now look at the spell list again. Everything on this list is all about either getting information or it's all getting information either about something or information about someone.
So, with that being said, let's move on to the other class features then to better highlight that ability. Let's start with the first ability, Assessing Eyes and Pact Bond. So, Assessing Eyes basically says that the patron of the Warlock gives you the ability to make better deals by appealing to them. You can spend 1 minute to study another creature you can see, and then you can learn one of the following pieces of information. And this is a bit different than what Mantis is playing in our campaign, because he's playing a tactician that kind of can do this, but
this is amazing.
Yeah.
Because you straight up learn either a fantasy, a type of creature that arouses it, a goal it desperately wants to achieve, a line it's not willing to cross, behavioral traits that it either abhors or finds endearing. And for someone who's trying to make a deal, any of those pieces of information is basically giving a golden key on that contract.
Leverage.
Yep. Now, I will say this. I don't like the fact that it's got a soft once per day ability. because it says at the very bottom, once you use this ability on a creature, you may not use it again for 24 hours. And that could be a problem depending on your DM, because they could easily say that a day is like one session. But that also means that you got to be smart about it too.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a good thing. I like that, but again, it depends on what DM you have at your table that I would determine if I wanted to play this class.
Yeah, once again, this is not a subclass for beginners. This is for someone who really knows what they're doing and knows what information they would like to get to better make some kind of deal with somebody.
Because they're never going for the same information twice.
Right.
Correct.
So that moves on to the second first level ability, Pact Bond. This is a bit weird. I hope I'm reading this right. Choose a level 1 feature from another otherworldly being as specified in the otherworldly patron feature. You gain that feature. So I'm guessing basically how I'm reading that one is it states you get another feature from another subclass of the warlock. But this one has to be from the otherworldly patron.
Yes. So, like, for example, give me 1 second. So, like, for example, let's say you. Oh, hold on, where is? Yes. Let's say your patron as the contract warlock is an archfey. So you could say, oh, okay. So along with the contract stuff, I also get the base archfey warlock feature of getting the Misty Step spell with the extra little benefits. So yeah, it's saying that this subclass can be basically used for any kind of patron, because making deals is what any warlock does. So any patron you connect to, they already know about making contracts with people. You're just learning that from them. But the specific nature of who this otherworldly being is, that can be represented in Pact Bound.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I like that. But like, okay, let's taking the flavor part of that aside. Obviously, when you get more additional features as a warlock, that is already I say this a lot, but it basically boils down to this: because of the action economy, the more options you have for everyone gets an action, movement, and a bonus action. So if you have access to the ability so if you gain a way to use all the actions in one turn, that automatically means that you have a leg up on a lot of the competition. And getting access to an entire different patron's feature at level 1 means that you could potentially find a way to really add like a good supplemental ability that you probably wouldn't have had access to, and then combine it with the other stuff that you're gaining access to really maximize your action economy per turn. I only say that because at the end of the day, that's going to be the best way to make the best use of this class, is to use is like much like a contract. You have to make sure you understand every aspect of it. And it seems like just being able to get like I don't really know, like I don't play a lot of warlocks, so I don't know what otherworldly patron features are available. But if there's just something that allows you to like potentially gain an additional warlock spell slot, access maybe get a bonus spell, maybe even deal a little bit of bonus damage with a bonus action or something like that, that would be great. Like, so I'll look into that later, and I'll probably be a little bit shocked at that. So this is like some homework for me. But I think that that'll depend if I think that's if this is a great ability or not.
If I may,
Go ahead.
I would personally just like to just quickly go over the ones that are at least like official for at least the 2014 book really quickly.
Okay.
I'm just gonna quickly run through them. The Archfey one is Fey Presence, which you cause each creature in a 10-foot cube originating from you to make a Wisdom saving throw. The creatures that fail their saving throws are all charmed or frightened by you until the end of your next turn. And once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish short or long rest.
Okay, is that an action or a bonus action cost?
That is an action.
Okay, that's a pretty good action.
Mhm.
And you're getting it for free, so like you're not wasting any resources either.
Correct.
Yeah. For Celestial,
Healing light.
there, yes, Healing Light. At first level, you gain the ability to channel celestial energy to heal wounds. You have a pool of d6s that you spend to fuel this healing. The number of dice in your pool equals 1 plus your Warlock level. As a bonus action, you can heal one creature you can see within 60 feet of you, spending dice from the pool. The maximum number of die you can spend at once equals your charisma modifier, minimum of 1 die. Roll the die you spend, add them together, and restore a number of hit points equal to your total. Your pool regains all expended die when you finish a long rest.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
With yeah.
So
you essentially become a mini healer.
which is
Hmm.
good. That moves you more into sub DPS category, which is great. Obviously, more healing, even as an off healer, can be really good to save your healer's precious spell slots for hardcore fights. As we all know, those precious, as we all know, clerics will only use, clerics are like health insurance. They will only cover you if they feel like there's a value to it, and that they can recover the premium of their spell slots.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh man. Damn, that hurt.
You can tell I'm not.
Yeah.
Well, let me give you some. Well, it's founded. It's based because here's why. Let me tell you a brief story, real quick. In my last campaign as a player, I played a dwarf artificer who built a hunting rifle.
Yeah.
We were basically going to a seaside port trying to establish what had happened to this town that had been swept up by like an invasion of otherworldly creatures from beyond the sea. And we were in a firefight, we were trying to escape. I shot a propane tank with my gun to explode, and the healer was there. He didn't get hit by it at all, neither did the tank. I was the only one that got caught in the crossfire, and I was dying, and the healer goes, nope, I don't think you're worthy of using healing word on. I was like, what? Why? Yeah, but it's a self-inflicted wound. I can't risk using my spell slots on that. What if we need them for the tank? And like, I blew up the enemy. I think I deserve like 1 cast. So that's my point. Healers, they determine what happens. So having someone who's not stingy with the spell slots, great. And speaking of stinginess, let's talk about brokering a contract.
Hooray!
So
yeah. What's weird about this one is that usually for classes and subclasses, you get like the main feature early on. This one, you get its primary feature at level 6. It's a little different.
Because normally with like you said, normally with subclasses you get their primary feature at level 3, and then it just expands upon it as you level up. But this one, I think it has to be a little bit. I think it has to be a little bit later because of what it can do. So let's just briefly go over it real quick. Broker and Accord. You have learned to back up a dealer contract with arcane power. So basically, you can make magical contracts. You have to be between 2 consenting individuals, so you can't give this to like an enemy unless you convince them that it's worth it. And
Yeah, they can't be hindered, charmed, controlled, or magically manipulated in any way.
Right. So they have to be a willing participant. However, both parties are free to try and convince the other to agree to any terms, so it's basically like going back and forth. Here's the thing that I think is interesting is that the contract has 3 terms. 3 components, basically. Terms, duration, and damage clause. For terms, basically both have to agree on, what we agree on for the for what happens with the contract. It's pretty self-explanatory. I agree, like, let's say, if I'm reading this right, you promise me power, I promise you to do anything. And then if it's agreeable, I'm just reading this, so maybe I'm not necessarily getting all the nuance of it, but I think that's what it's basically saying, is like, you basically say, like, you do this for me, I do this for you. Usually it's probably in the same, like, if you're being a patron to another class, basically.
Yeah.
And so basically, the next part is the duration. Each contract has, like, a deal value, so basically how fair it is to one person or another. And as
Yeah.
it says that it starts at 10, and then that's for about 1 month. Or if I'm reading this, I'm not sure I'm reading this right. So let me just scroll down to the examples a little bit so I can see if I understand this correctly. Cross, do you want to fill it in?
Yeah, so really quick, the deal value thing is just the combination of whatever terms you're using and duration does bring the overall contract up to a certain deal value. And there's a maximum of a deal value you can have. It starts at 20, but then it can go the maximum value can go up to 30 at level 10 and 40 at level 14.
Okay.
And then you can have multiple contracts going, and you get more as you level up. So the different terms, which are all laid out on the next page there, page 153, all have different things that you can offer to whoever you're making a contract with, or they can offer to you. So each one of those does have a different deal value associated with it. So you can have as few or as many of those in any one contract. And that overall adds up to a certain deal value. So yeah, the more things you have going on, the more effects that that you can benefit from. So yeah. Yeah, and then the duration part is basically just multipliers on whatever your deal value is. The longer you want to have the contract going, the higher of a value multiplier there is.
And then if either one of the people break the contract, there's also a damages clause, which basically means that the person who broke the contract suffers a penalty.
Yes.
And those penalties are wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just to read one, I think is really kind of this is just like a shorthand version. But for the next year, the contract breaker may not speak unless given explicit permission by the other party to do so. That's a year. Your character might not the campaign might not even run a year. Like in game time.
Also, can I just say the one above it?
Yep.
No, you can't read that one because that would be too explicit for the site.
How is that explicit?
Because I said so.
Fair enough.
But okay, but
Yeah.
like let's put that aside. By the way, this screams big bad guy class more than party class, because those contract or fey class or like arch fey class or just anything that involves like making contracts, I can see that being a legitimate like funny moment.
This screams someone who is trying to get back at the patron who is the big bad. This is someone who is reformed.
I mean, I would say that, but I will also say this is the part I don't like about the class.
Go ahead.
The fact is that contracts between players, obviously you will get a bonus, but let's say, like for example, what are you really gaining as a benefit from this? Like just looking at some of the options here. One party's AC is lowered by 2 and the other party's AC is raised by 2. Okay, that's... No creature may ever gain or lose more than 2 from the normal value of their AC in this way. Okay, you're giving someone 2 additional armor class, which, great lower level, but by higher level, you could probably find armor that does it, and you don't run the risk of the contract being, having problems. But then also you have stuff like the Gia spell, which Cheddar and I talked about when we were talking about the Lamias. One party's maximum hit points is lowered by 5 while the other is raised by 5. I don't think the downsides outweigh the benefits. And obviously you could probably create your own version of the contract, but like that's up to the DM to allow you to do these things. And I don't like the fact that
I just wanted to say for that one, you notice how some of them have a limit of like how much of a certain score or value you can take?
Yeah.
But other ones don't?
Yeah.
It's because if you go back to the terms part of how all this works, you're allowed to do the same term multiple times on a single contract.
Well,
So
maybe, but I still don't like that. In fact, I think it makes it even worse. Like, okay, let me give you an example of this. Let's say
This is very
No.
much a class
let
that
him talk. Let him talk.
yeah,
Let,
bad
let
chitter,
Garson talk.
bad. You get a bonk now. Bonk.
ow, ow.
Okay, but let me explain what I mean by this. Let's take the maximum hit points value, okay?
Mhm.
Let's say Cross, you are the tank, and I'm the contract warlock in this scenario, and I want to give you as much health and armor as I can, and your term is you do not let me die. Now, let's say we'd run two rungs of the 4 cost where I give you 4 AC and then 10 additional hit points. That's pretty good. Well, we can admit that as a tank, that makes you really protective. You could have an armor class of almost 20 at that point, depending on how your character is built. Maybe at level 6, which is really
Yeah,
good.
it could be a lot, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now, here's the problem with that. If I've sacrificed so much stuff to you to give you more additional benefit, and I die simply by like an area of effect ability or like a fireball or anything like that, then you will then suffer then we have to make sure that the contract damages don't hinder your character, and then we run out of 2 characters. So I don't know why we would ever put like the Statue of Torment ability on there, because that's 30 days where you're petrified, or one where you would lose all your money.
Well, I mean, Garson, you kind of just said it. I don't know why we would ever do that. If this is between party members, obviously they're going to discuss it in a way where it makes and gives them the most benefits for everyone in the party. That's why this subclass is dangerous to even introduce to a table, because you can just make contracts with party members to kind of like game the system. You can really break just like the system of stats and everything as a whole if you really know what you're doing.
I mean, yes, if you know what you're doing, but I don't think Timmy, who picked this class because he liked the idea, will know what to do when I don't think little Timmy will know how to write a contract that gets him what he wants and what the party member wants without accidentally screwing someone over. That I'm 100% saying this.
No, I agree with you. That's why we go back to our to the note a couple pages ago that this is not a beginner class. This is where you, the DM, will have to put your foot down and say, "I'm sorry, but what this class does is very complex and can screw you over too much too easily." So to avoid things going wrong because you don't know you don't have the experience of what this can do, to avoid those bad decisions happening because you have no idea, you have to just put that limitation of, "I'm sorry, you can't do this one."
So, but if I do that, then I'm pretty much saying to the party, this is not a class that we are going to want to play. So why would I ever I would just say, look, this is too confusing, and confusion is not a good thing. We're going to ban this from the table because we can't have these contracts like, we can either have them really broken or we can have them basically like bombs strapped around our necks, but there's no in between. Like in our party, like for example, Cross, I think you could potentially play this class so we wouldn't have a problem. You could probably do this. But let's say that we had Neffy play this class. I don't think Neffy would do anything.
Up immediately.
Well, because Neffy.
Damn.
Well, but
I would not,
Neffy,
would not be a good.
Yeah, but see, Neffy knows that, and like, let's say if you look at our list of people, the list of who could play this class is significantly smaller than the people who would do something really stupid with this class, not because of intentional wise, but because they probably didn't realize that that's what this would do if something happened like this. And maybe it would take other players to potentially showcase what it can do, but I would say the bar to entry is so high, I would just say probably ban this. You have to be like a legitimate lawyer to play this class. And I don't like
Yeah, you
that.
really that's fair. It's
Lawyers.
yeah, you really need to know what you're doing to play this, and the DM needs to really know what they're getting into to allow someone to play this at their table. So that's again why they have that note. It's like, look, we're putting this in here to represent this kink that does happen,
Mhm.
but at the same time, we recognize that it can be very, very powerful and a little too complex. So DMs, you know your players, so it is ultimately up to you whether or not to allow this. And sometimes some things are just a little too much for one table.
Exactly.
It happens.
Exactly. And
And-
there's no shame in that. What you were saying, Chitter?
Can I just say that I respect this class for being completely honest about it? Because
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
because the thing is that this subclass, if the whole party knows what they're doing, if you get into an experience table and you have this at, like, say, I don't know why Critical Role would ever play this book, but if Critical Role played this book, this would be a fascinating class to see. This would be part of the main story. This would be an Imogen. This would be a Cadeus. This would be someone who is integral to the story in a very powerful way. But at the same time, those same subclasses you cannot give to a beginner player or DM.
Like,
Right.
can I be honest? If this was being played by Sam,
It would
Sam
be
would. Good.
Sam would kill it.
Yeah.
Sam would try, but I think Sam is not going to be able to write those contracts to be as effective as they think.
Sam would play someone. See, here's the thing. Sam is an amazing role player. Sam would role play someone who is terrible at making contracts, and it would be a role play thing that they keep screwing themselves. Oh my God, Dr. Facilier from Princess and the Frog.
Yes.
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 Oh my god.
That's who this is.
That's who that is.
Right. And you know
Oh
what?
my God, that hit me so bad.
And that's the benefit of it, because this is a bad guy class. The bad guy should be playing this with the DM having control over the contracts, and then I don't really think there'd be a problem with that. I think as a player, though, you need at least 2 years of experience, maybe 3, before I'll let you pilot this thing. That's my take on it. And then let's let's quickly look at the other two abilities, because again, we talk mostly about the contract stuff, but the other two abilities are just they're
Make you
fine.
think,
They're fine.
yeah, actually, they're a little better than just fine, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. Silver-tongued Devil is basically going for expertise right away. You get
Yeah.
expertise. You get expertise in persuasion and deception. And then exploit loophole is just straight up saying, yeah, for the next minute, none of my contracts matter for me.
Yep.
They matter for everybody else, but they don't matter for me.
Yeah. No downsides for you. You just
And
go. You just go. Nuh-uh.
The fuck
And-
you mean no?
I mean, nuh-uh.
And here's the thing. I love how you guys were saying that, oh, this would be a really good bad guy thing. Do you know what one of my favorite ideas is for a bad guy NPC to turn into the BBEG? They start as an ally, and then as time slowly progresses, they turn into the big bad.
Yeah.
Imagine them.
Ooh.
Now, here's an idea. Imagine the DM playing this class. They make those contracts with you that are either for a year or perpetual, because, the campaign isn't going to last that long. So the players are all like, yeah, we're getting great bonuses. And they're getting like they're asking for like they're getting like ability scores and whatnot, and maybe even an extra spell slot here and there. And then, huh, funny. Funny that. Why
Uh,
is the BBEG so powerful?
oh, and let's not forget another factor of this. You guys already are under a kind of effect in this in our campaign because of hydrangea
Yeah.
and the warbound
The
effect.
warbound.
Yeah.
Fucking warbound.
Yeah. I also just say this, another good thing for Big Bad. One of the contract terms is one party must satisfy at least one task the other party sets for them. Just calling in a favor. It's like, yeah, I gave you this power, and yeah, we set it for a long duration. Don't worry about it. But later on, you just get contacted via sending. Hey, I need you to do this for me, or you suffer your damage clause we talked about.
Yeah.
And if it's something that party member doesn't really doesn't like it, oh snap! Suddenly you're on a side quest, and you're like, oh no, I'm on a side quest.
Yay!
Looks at my character and the shit they did. Huh, that
Oh, boy.
sounds familiar.
Yep.
boy.
Yep.
Huh, that sounds really familiar. Where have I heard that before? Where have I heard the idea of signing a contract without knowing fully what I was getting into and now having to do stuff or reap consequences? Haven't heard that before.
Well,
King of the Poop Chitter.
yeah, it definitely looks at Chitter. Anyway, so with that, I think we already went over the Slithering Sublime Warlock last episode, so we're gonna just go ahead and skip that one, and we're gonna move on to the Wizards, which only have about two subclasses. So they'll I already skipped ahead, and I saw one that reminds me of Bun Bun. All right, but let's look at the first one, the School of Dilemmaturgy. I'm actually shocked I was able to read that. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Good job, Garson. You get head pats.
Thank you. So Dilemmaturgy, for those of you who aren't aware what that one is, that is basically the School of Dilemmas. So you are basically saying to them, okay, here is option A, here's option B, and you're putting yourself in one dilemma or two dilemma. I don't know necessarily if the extent of that, so we're gonna let Chitter explain it once again. Chitter, go ahead and explain how you're attracted to this kink.
I hate that you're right.
Really? Oh, I took a shot in the dark on that one.
I mean, it's been true every time, so it's a safe assumption at this point.
Yes.
How dare you use what's been predictable and low-hanging fruit this entire damn time? How dare you? Okay.
So explain it.
Okay. This one, again, is very much a case of a vulnerability kink. Because it's basically what is referred to as predicament play. And basically, you're giving your submissive two choices. No matter which one they choose, it's going to be objectively not a great time, but subjectively to them an amazing time. Basically, sometimes it can be like you have to choose between, for example, oh, you were being very bad. You get to choose. Do I spank you with the paddle or the whip? That's a simple predicament play. Either way, you're getting spanked, but the victim, the submissive, chooses what type of punishment they get. Neither of them are going to get them out of punishment, but that's the simplest way. Another one, which is absolutely amazing that I love it, is there's a very common image of someone being, wow instincts, are you fucking kidding me? I was going to say, yeah, there's a scenario of a person with being like tied up with rope, and my arms immediately went behind my back.
Wowzers.
We were talking earlier about triggers. Yeah.
The horny is real.
Hi. Here's the thing. I didn't even think about it. It just happened.
Triggers.
Yeah, indeed.
It's great. But anyways,
Fun.
with the arms just happened again. With the arms behind the back, basically you're held up with like rope holding you up. And sure. And do any of you know what a Sibian is? It's basically
It's a
like
Sibian.
either way. It's kind of like a mixture between a rocking horse and like just like a grinding stone. But basically,
Oh.
so imagine this. The predicament at its most extreme is you're being held up by the rope, but you can like fight the rope. Your muscles pushing you down. But every single time you go down, you're against that vibrator. And you're already overstimulated, so your muscles are tiring. You're trying to avoid the pleasure because your body's so overstimulated, but your muscles are tiring. So you either tire and get exhausted or you get overstimulated. And it's this it's this fake sense of agency where you're not able to change the situation in a meaningful way, but oh my god, it's so good. Ugh. Now,
Okay,
Garson,
while
go ahead,
Chitter's cooming herself.
yeah. So, Garson,
Yeah.
you go ahead and talk about the things while I try to pick myself off the ground.
Good.
Are you
Don't
okay?
just mute
Waddle's
your mic if
over.
you have to do that. Anyway.
Waddle's over. You okay?
Oh, I think she's okay. But I also think she may have a wet. Yeah, I think she's got a wet spot. She needs to clean up on the chair. Anyway,
Okay, shut up. You've been way too right this day.
and I'm gonna keep being right. Anyway, so let's take a look at the abilities. So wizards are poor sorcerers. We don't talk about them. Our poor magical cousins. They try.
We're magical cousins.
Yes. Well, let's be fair here. Gale fails by wizard standard. Gale is the best wizard,
Yes.
but he still fails by wizard standards.
Yes, he's a literal bomb. What do you mean?
Well, if he was a sorcerer, he wouldn't have to worry about that.
Like, how do you fuck up so badly that you turn yourself into a magical bomb?
Yeah, can't really
Like,
argue with
come
that
on.
one. I'm
How
Gale.
do you get yourself into that
Hello,
mess, huh?
I'm Gale. Hi. Oh, hi, Gale. I'm a
I'm a
bomb.
bomb.
Oh no. Well, okay, that's not the reason why I don't like wizards. I don't like wizards because wizards are basic bitch classes. I'm sorry if you like wizards.
It's true.
No, just hear me out. If you like wizards, I get it. They
You're a
they
Harry
have,
Potter fan. Gotcha.
Yeah, well, it's not just that. They have access to almost every spell in the game. They have to now. They can't learn it naturally a lot of the time. They have to do it with their spell books. But typically speaking, wizards do get access to almost any spell that they can find a scroll of, which is not bad. The reason I don't like wizards is that's it in terms of like what wizards are known for. They cast magic, and that's
Yeah.
and even their subclasses are we focus on this magic, but that's it.
Yeah,
And
it's
Mhm.
like okay, yeah, we do this one type of magic really well,
That's
and
it.
maybe you get some bonuses from using that type of magic. So it's like, oh, okay, so you're gonna take this very very broad and diverse class and focus it into one area,
Right.
like the idea of specializing is a nice idea, but what if people want to do more interesting things in general? Oop, we lost some.
That was
Bun.
Bun. She'll be back. Hopefully, maybe I don't know. But
yeah.
but that's my point. It's like wizards don't do much. They're DPS classes. That's all they do. That's all they are ever going to do. They don't provide. They can provide some support if they go with a certain wizard class like divination or
Abjuration.
yeah, or adjuration. But then you basically are not. But let's be fair here, wizards like to throw fireballs. That's what they're known for. And so, yeah, pretty much. So let's move. So let's see if these ones actually can give wizards some unique abilities. Starting with design suffering. You prepare a predicament. You choose 2 spells of different schools with a casting time of 1 act. Okay, already this is just
Already.
it's just casting magic. And at maximum spell at 5th level, so you can only go up to level 5 with that, which is fine. Like for a 2nd level ability, going up to only 5th level is perfectly fine. And you may find it helpful to assign each predicament a name. As an action, you may enact one of your prepared predictions by choosing one creature you can see. That creature chooses one of the 2 spells comprising that prediction or predicament, and you cast the chosen spell as part of this action, spending the required spell slot. Okay, what is the point of this ability? This ability is stupid.
Let me explain.
Okay.
So, first of all, I like this. First because you have to choose 2 spells of different schools. So already we're breaking away from what can make wizards boring, and that you have to have a variety of magic going on. You need to choose 2 different things. You can't say like a fireball and then like a lightning ball, because no, those are just 2 different kinds of elemental damage spells. Like, no, you need to have variety going. So that's already set up. But you are giving the creature that you're targeting a choice of which of the 2 things they want to suffer from. But then it says there at the end, if the spell that the creature chooses to take against them requires an attack roll, the attack has advantage. If the spell requires a saving throw, they make the saving throw a disadvantage. So it's like, yeah, you pick which spell you want to get hit by, but man, you're most likely really going to get hit by it.
Okay, but here's the problem with that, and that's actually the last line of text on this ability. If the spell affects other creatures, they do not receive either of these penalties. So do you want to know? So basically
Correct.
So here's the problem I have with this. Let me list a few spells that automatically make this kind of redundant. Cloud of Daggers,
Yep.
Fireball, obviously, Call Lightning, because that's an area. So any area of effect spell, that's already going to negate the penalties. So you have to choose
Correct.
2 single target abilities from different skills. Yeah, so let's say you pick Firebolt, which is a destruction cantrip, and then a cantrip for like maybe, I don't know, throw me a cantrip from a different school, just anyone off the bat.
Mind Sliver.
Magic Missile.
Magic Missile's not a cantrip, it's a 1st level spell, but I think that's evocation.
True.
Yeah, so Firebolt or Magic Missile, basically. I'm just gonna pick as the DM, I'm going to pick the one that benefits me more, and there's not really this is just kind of like a wasted ability. I get where the ability is coming from, but I don't like the fact that the chosen ability can be negated by so many options.
Actually, I kind of really love it personally, and I would rock this class. Because the thing is that you're not choosing which one's better for you. You're choosing which one's less worse. And there's a significant difference between that. Like, say, for example, you're absolutely right. An AoE would be terrible for this. But also, here's the thing. If you have an AoE spell as one of your options, pick something like Charm Person or like one of those spells, for example, that places an effect on a single person. So you're basically saying to them, okay, cool. You can either take the AoE or you can protect your friends, but you're in a world of shit. And that's something that is very, very, very interesting to think about, because you're not. Because, Cross, answer me this for me. How many
Okay.
times do I play subclasses looking for combos like this?
I mean, when do you not?
Exactly. And that's not a bad thing. this is something where I would personally love this because I would go ham with this class because it's always about sure, if they take the AoE effect, then I'm just getting rid of a problem sooner. But if they take the single person way, then I have a victim to take advantage of either through paralysis or charm, and they're rolling that with disadvantage. Those are huge effects that normally the DM would be like, yeah, but they're going to roll that with advantage because they're attacking you. So it can either be normalized or just flat out disadvantage. Or it could be like, well, you didn't take the magic missiles, so uh they're going to have to roll to hit them. And when the dice aren't working with you, you proceed to go, you're going in dice jail, you motherfucker. But that's rolling with advantage. This is basically going, hey, I get I get to make your life hell, and you get to choose the stick at which I do so. And I love that.
I okay, I get it, but at the same time, the payoff is it's good, but I don't like the setup on this because you can only prepare it up to your intelligence modifier. You have to have enough spells to fit that. There's not always gonna you have to decide if you're going to be full DPS wizard and have no support abilities, or you have to be like sub DPS, have some support abilities, and then you might have to weave them into your predicaments. It just doesn't feel like I don't see why maybe it's me, but I don't see why I wouldn't just say, let me just use this spell and then I'm gonna just throw a firebolt at you. Why would I go through all of this stuff to get an advantage roll when there are other ways to not only get advantage that are a lot less convoluted, or even rely on my enemies or my allies to help me provide advantage and just be a normal wizard? I'm saying, like, personally, this is just kind of like, this feels like it's meant to be more, but it doesn't feel like I would want to use this, like, just off of a baseline ability. I know it's a level
Garson,
2. Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
Name your favorite wizard spell that targets a single person.
Okay, let's just go with the standard firebolt then for cantrips.
Okay, if we're gonna focus on cantrips, okay, firebolt. Normally 1d10 of damage, so advantage. Okay, so chances are they're gonna do a d10. So okay, and then another good option along aside from that, in a different school, quick little skim. Toll the Dead. So yeah, two different things. The predicament you are offering them is, hey, do you want to take a D10 of damage or do you want to take a D12 of damage?
Okay, but why wouldn't I just use Toll the Dead then?
Because then it's the disadvantage part.
Okay, but like I said, if all I'm getting is advantage or disadvantage, there are a lot easier ways to make it happen that don't require the opponent having the choice of this ability.
Like what?
Okay, well, just throwing first thing that comes off my mind. Have the rogue perform a sneak attack and then make like an athletics check to see if they knock him down, or try to use them, or even one of the monk abilities that we saw last time with the heel stepper. They can make something get knocked prone, and once you're prone, you have disadvantage on everything, which is the equivalent of having advantage on the spell. Now, obviously, you want to have advantage for your own abilities more, but I'm saying, like, the fact is that you're giving your opponent choice, and this has been one of the bigger problems. Choice, if you have choice, that's great. If you give someone choice, that means that you are limiting your options to just these two things, and they're always going to pick the one that benefits them the most. You said it yourself. Why would I take the D10 or the D12? I'll take the D10 because if it hits me, there's a chance I'll get less damage. That's what I would say. Like, or I would just cast Toll the Dead. Because now I'm like saying I'm going to deal with D12. I could still potentially hit higher.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's a fair yeah,
Yeah.
that's a fair way to think about it.
Yeah, this very much is a case of you either love it or you hate it.
Right. And don't get me wrong, like if you love it, I can understand where you as a player might say this is really cool, I like this. But that's not always going to be the case for everyone, obviously. Now, and as someone who plays a lot of sorcerers and not a lot of wizards, I'm saying, what does this set apart from other wizards? Why would I pick this wizard class to gain on maybe once in a while either give a disadvantage or advantage on an ability, and I wouldn't be picking any AoE ability, so it would only be single target that this would be a benefit on. And I don't see that as being a good thing, because unless you're fighting like a really big bad guy, there's probably going to be like there's going to be groups of enemies. Goblins go in groups of enemies, like fairy dragons might go in groups of enemies. I don't see well, okay, like pseudo dragons, kind of the thing that Chitter was talking about on the Monster Manual episode. But like, if it's just your opponent and it's one guy, he's going to take the less damage option. He's always going to take the less damage option, because the less damage option means he might live longer. As a DM, you might say I have advantage on the fireball spell. Okay, you have advantage, but you still got to beat a 16. You might not hit. You have disadvantage on the saving throw. It might be my best stat, and I still win. So what I'm getting at here is, instead of doing that, I could just cast a normal spell, because I'm not getting these spells for free. They still cost spell slots to do, and that means I'm still investing resources into it. I'm just saying, all right, do I have advantage on your hit, or do you have disadvantage on the saving throw? That's basically all you're getting, and that is it's good, but in a party, it's so much easier to do it with other ways than giving your opponent the choice. That's all I'm going to say on that.
I'm not going to. The thing with me is that, again, don't get me wrong. I think that this is a very much a take it or leave it class. I'm just of the mindset of everything you said for getting the advantage and disadvantage, you have to rely on someone else. And and for me as a player, because there's no limit to the amount of times I can use a particular predicament.
Mm-hmm.
There's no limit to that. So for me personally, if I can give myself advantage or disadvantage, I'm running with that to the bank.
Well, there is a limit to it, though, because you can only have these prepared up to the number of your intelligence modifier, so you could potentially have it like at most 5 per short rest. And let's take that example for a second. Do you want to know there's one spell I think would probably be the best way to describe how the wizard can pull this off without needing to be so convoluted, and it might cost you an additional spell slot, but it's also an ability that is going to help you out by making sure all your cantrips hit for advantage too. And that's Tasha's Hideous Laughter. It's by the time you have this, you should have enough spell slots to have Tasha's Hideous Laughter. That's going to make them prone, so they are now at disadvantage. So now I can hurl firebolts at you at advantage and get the same effect, and it costs me 1 spell slot and a potential hit, and after a hit with an ability, because the spell still has to hit. It doesn't guarantee the hit. It doesn't guarantee anything else, but besides giving 1 spell advantage or 1 spell disadvantage or 1 enemy disadvantage. So,
okay, Garson, can I just say this?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask for permission to make this like safe for work, like using the Explorer's Guide to Bundhiem, and for the 3rd campaign using this class, because I want to use it and see where I can go with this class with you as the DM. I'm genuinely asking you this right now.
All right, when we do our 3rd campaign, because let's face it, at this point, we're probably going to be doing that anyway, you can do that maybe, depending on what we're deciding on the 3rd campaign to be. But let's look at okay, we focus too much on the main gimmick of this class. Let's look at the rest of it. Maybe there's some more stuff that maybe just reading the rest of it will change my mind on this, because let's be fair here, it seems like there's more to the predictions than just what I was talking about. Also, Delimiturge Savant, the golden time you spend to copy a spell under your spellbook is set for spells with a casting time of 1 action. Okay, see that
That's
right
normal,
there? That's a great ability.
That's insane.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
One
Yeah, Wizards already get this for like whatever school of magic they're focusing in. This is just the version that applies for this subclass. It's like, oh, so you want to focus in on spells that have a cast time 1 action because you need those for your predicaments. So it's like, okay, so let's make those easier for you to get.
Right, but the other thing is that so many spells have 1 action as the cost that you have so many options. It's just basically we can consider it this without, we could basically say learn pretty much any spell, like 80% of the spells for half cost and half the time. Great ability. Don't need to go in too much into it. That's fantastic. Now let's look at the Plight proficiency. This
is one that I would genuinely say justifies the class to anyone. Because when you cast a spell of 2nd level or higher, so again, you're getting this at 6th level, you get 2nd level spells at 3rd level, so you're kissing the ground at 3rd and 4th level when you start to get this. When you cast it as part of enacting a predicament, so again, the reason for going for that predicament, you regain an expended spell slot of a lower level.
Okay, now I'm starting to see the benefit of that because
There
now,
you go.
but okay, oh my god, I don't even know how I'm going to show this episode now because now it's just be ranting. It's like I did the one thing that everyone does. Like if you had read 10 more sentences, you would have seen the benefit of this. And I take it, but no. So the slot you regain must be a lower level than the spell you cast. It can't be higher than 5th level. Okay, so basically you can't regain anything higher than a 4th level spell slot at most, but that's okay. Like 3rd level spells are probably like the sweet spot for spell recursion. I think because you have a lot of good options around 3rd level. Scorching Ray comes to mind, which is a fantastic ability to upcast.
Yeah. And every single spell slot that you get above 3rd level is an extra 3rd level spell slot with this.
Right. And you still get a spell with it. So it's not like you...
Ooh.
Yeah, ooh.
I just had one really, really nasty predicament to put on somebody.
What's that?
So remember how it's set up of either advantage on attack rolls and disadvantage on a saving throw. Scorching Ray with multiple attacks being at advantage, or Hold Person.
Oh yeah.
With the saving throw at disadvantage. That's a predicament.
Well, also you gotta understand with Scorching Ray, when you upcast it, you get 1 additional fire spell on that. So
I know.
So that's what makes it. I love Scorching Ray. I think it's one of my favorite low level spells. So
Scorching Ray is good.
Oh, it is. It's very good. So yeah, I would definitely see that being there. So at 6th level, then this class starts to gain some unique abilities. Again, wizards, they cast magic. That's what they do. But getting spell slots back is one of the wizard's best abilities. Now, that's good. I don't like the fact that it has a soft cap at like level 5 spells, but
to be fair, the predicament itself has a cap of 5th level, so it really couldn't.
Oh, wait. I read this wrong, actually. Okay, so this is actually much better. It says you can't regain a spell higher than 5th level. So what that means is you can still get 5th level spell slots back, too. It says you can't go ahead and higher than that, and you really never will, because 6th, 7th, and 8th level magic is like the emergency button. You're not going to get more than maybe 1 or 2 of those spells. So
yeah.
So getting 5th level spell slots back, fine choice. I don't mind that. Speaking of choice, interesting choice. When you deal acid, cold, okay, so just any elemental damage in general, you can use reaction to offer protection to that creature. If that creature takes the offer, they gain resistance. After the effect ends, the next time they take damage of any of those types, they are vulnerable to it. Okay. This is interesting. I like this. Yep. I like this a lot. And the reason I like this a lot is because first and foremost, fire is the most common damage type in D&D. Next is cold, lightning is 3rd. Those are because I think thunder is like sound damage. Anyway, so fire, cold, and lightning are like the top 3 common most damage types. you could have Ray of Frost used. Now they're resistant to cold. And then you just chuck firebolts at them the whole time. Just chuck firebolts at them. They're not resistant to that unless they were already resistant to that. That's great.
But then once that effect ends, like
Mhm.
say for like here's the thing. You guys brought up a very interesting spell for this feature. And here's the thing. Scorching Ray. You deal multiple strikes, but they're all individual strikes.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine this. When you deal acid, cold, or fire damage, you may use your reaction to offer protection. If the creature takes the offer, they gain resistance for the duration of that effect. Based on the wording of that, that means that they take one of those rays at resistance, and then they take the next one double.
Next 3, actually, because if you cast Scorching Ray at level 4, that's 4 firebolts that'll hit off. So the first one hits at resistance, and then the other 3 will hit for double. That automatically is a great trade-off, just to have that having for, like... But wait, hold on.
I just noticed something.
What's that?
An interesting choice. None of that mentions the predicaments.
No, it doesn't.
So this can work with any spell you cast, even your AoEs.
And yeah, and then obviously if you have a follow-up type that's not very common, like Acid, for example, and you can deal a ton of damage with it, because Acid typically has high damage, but they don't have a lot of spells. So...
Or, say for example,
You know what I'm mad?
Call
Okay.
Lightning. Here's the thing. Call Lightning. I'm going to play this off as like, oh, you're a wizard calling lightning down. That's great. And then you offer to an enemy and say, hey, I can protect you from this lightning strike if you want it. And when they say yes, then every lightning strike afterwards hits for vulnerability.
Okay.
No, it's just the next one. It just says the next time to take damage of any of those types.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a one-time thing. So my combo, what I'm thinking of is, imagine you have Witch Bolt on somebody, which in 2024 you do the additional damage each turn as a bonus action.
Oh, that's really
Imagine
good.
Imagine doing the bonus action for the multiple D12 of damage that Witch Bolt is, and then offering the protection. You go, and they go, yeah, I don't like this lightning. Yeah, I would like resistance here. Okay, cool. Main action fireball centered on you. That's it. That's it. Take your equivalent of 18d6.
And they're dead.
Jesus.
Now,
That's it. I love this subclass.
okay, it's growing
I
on
love
me.
this
I like
podcast.
this one too a little bit more, but I... go ahead, Shitter. What were you going to say?
And the last feature, I'm just going to come out and say this. This is a capstone if there ever was one. When you enact your predicament, you can secretly choose one of the 2 spells. So, like, say, for example, you would put it in, like, the DM, so for, like, Discord or whatnot, or write it down and then slip it to the DM and whatnot and say, don't flip that over until the turn comes if it's at an actual table and whatnot. And after the choice of which spell will take effect is made by the target, you then reveal your choice and flip it over. If the 2 choices match, a 50% chance of getting this right, an attack roll for that spell gets a crit on an 18 through 20, or any saving throws have a -2 for any spell effects.
That is a really
Keep in
good
mind-
that's a really good capstone ability.
Keep in mind for those attack rolls, because this is for the spell that they chose, you have advantage on those attack rolls, so you're very likely to get your 18 through 20, or they have disadvantage on their roll, so they have disadvantage and -2.
And and then let's look back at interesting choice. You could potentially also have set it up so now they're vulnerable to the damage they're taking, so you could have an
Yep.
18 through... Okay, so
That's a double whammy.
Yeah.
This is like a triple whammy at that point.
Jesus. That's a
This
fucking
is-
And
one
now
is-
we're thinking like a wizard.
This is a class that starts out very slow, but when it gets going, it gets
It gets
going.
It plays a long game.
Yeah.
This
So-
class is the definition of don't judge the ugly kid in middle school.
Yep. Basically.
Don't diss the magic. Okay. Yeah, no, now that I'm gonna see I can already see the comments going like, if Garson had just waited 15 minutes, he would have seen what made this class better. But
But
So,
are you
Garson,
saying
what I-
about wizards being a basic bitch?
they're still basic bitches. I stand by that.
Hey,
Oh, yeah.
future Garson,
Mhm.
do you mind putting like a clown nose and clown hair the entire time he talks and it just grows bigger and bigger?
Yeah, I'll
Hilarious.
see what I can do because we're like 2 weeks behind on our upload. So,
Yeah.
Hi, future Garson, how's the mid of April?
Hi, future Garson.
anyway, but
All
no,
right.
you gotta go crossed.
Yeah, unfortunately.
All
I'm
right.
a little sad because we were about to get to the other wizard, and I really want to talk about that one, but it's fine.
Well, why don't you think you can be like 10 more minutes and then
Yeah.
we'll talk about it real quick?
Okay. I'm gonna need like speed run this.
All right, let's speed. All right,
yeah, I don't know.
All right, so let's
Okay.
speed run this real quick because we're at the last sub class, and that's the Scroll of Inception. Chitter, you have
Yeah.
to explain it, but don't go
Nope,
into too much detail.
I'm letting Cross talk and I will give my details after.
Right, go ahead,
Fair-
cross.
Okay. Real quick. This is School of Inscription. This is the body writing subclass. So the main long and short of it is that you get to get extra spells by, instead of writing them in your spell book, you write them on your body. And while those spells are written on you, they're always prepared. So this really helps because then you just always have more spells available to you at any given time. Even if like you lose your spell book for some way, those other spells on your skin are always there. So you have
Huh.
that.
Like a tattoo.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yep. You could flavor as tattoos. Maybe it's not like actual words. It could be tattoos or like magical symbols or glyphs.
Yeah, like for fireball, it could be just like a fire symbol or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That could be
just-
also used for firebolt as well.
Exactly. Yeah. They say that the way it's set up. Yeah, you set it up so that way you have them on. You can have a spell on each limb, one on your torso, and one on your head or face.
One on
that's
this
up
titty
to-
and the other on this titty.
Basically, so yeah, you can have up to with those options. That's up to 6 spells you could just have on your body, just spread out in different parts. It's
And
really good.
it is, and here's another benefit to this, and I think this is kind of like one of the things we didn't really mention. If a wizard loses their spell book, it pretty much like severely handicaps them.
Crippled them.
Yeah, it does. It
crippled.
cripples them until they can make a new one, but it takes time and money.
But that's yeah, that was gonna say
With-
that takes time, bro.
Yeah, and with this one, wizards don't have that weakness. Now, obviously, they don't have all access to all their magic, but having 6 spells,
Right.
even when you don't have your spell book, you can be like, well, I use this one a lot, so I'll put it on my arm, and this one I use a lot too, so I'll put it on my other arm, and then these
Yeah,
ones are
just
like
like
my yeah.
yeah, just like imprint the most useful or most commonly used ones on your body, and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
even if
the
you
one-
lose your spell book.
Yeah, the ones you
Uh,
know you're definitely going to be using more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sharon.
I would have healing spells like that. One of them at least
Pro-
be a healing spell.
Cross actually during streaming played a game specifically about glyphs written on their body. What game was that again?
Yes, Castlevania Order of Ecclesia. The main character of that game, her name is Shanoa. Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you know, you know. Yes, but her thing is basically this. She conjures up different magical effects and weapons through glyphs that are written on her arms and on her back. So, yeah, we're talking about, the body writing kink, but no, this is literally a popular character from a mainstream video game franchise. the idea of magic on your skin is a common idea. So this just works not even just like kink roleplay, but also just in general.
And
Yeah.
and so that actually now obviously unlike the dilemmatologist dilemmaturge wizard.
Dilemmatologist.
Well, that's what I'm calling it anyway. The dilemmatologist, the school of dilemmaturge. He's got a master's degree in dilemma. Anyway, unlike that one, they don't have access to like a whole lot of extra stuff. Like Inscription Savant, that's their their school's benefit, which is they get half cost, half time to put spells if it involves a touch or self spell. Which mage armor, burning hands, stuff like that. That's pretty good. Living Codex, that basically summarizes what we were talking about. But here's the benefit. Writing these spells upon yourself still requires 50 gold worth of material components and 2 hours. However, you are considered as always have that spell prepared as cross mention. And basically it allows you to keep that on you, which is a great benefit, and you get that around level 2. So you really don't have to wait too long to get that. But it can only be removed from your skin if you have you need enchanted soaps or 2 hours of scrubbing. So
yeah.
So
you got to really commit to it if you want to for the spells you want to always have. Otherwise, it costs a lot to switch out.
So let's take a look at so let's look at the 6th level ability real quick. When you cast a level 3rd or lower spell with range of self or touch, Mage Armor. We're just going to use Mage Armor in this place. You may spend 1 minute to write the name of the spell on an appropriate word to describe it onto your body. While a spell is described this way, you're considered concentrating on it, and you may make a concentration check. I guess what this is basically saying is that you have advantage on concentration checks, and you but you don't have to keep your concentration.
It's better than advantage because you increase by 5 for each spell you are concentrating on beyond the first.
From the way they're phrasing it, I would say that's definitely the case. And if that is, that's broken. That's really broken.
That is broken as hell.
When your concentration is broken for 1, though, so if it's aiming for the lowest one, then all of them end.
I still think that's a broken ability, but in a good way, because having multiple concentrations is very good. There's a lot of really good spells that do that have concentration as the casting time. But if you also get multiple bonuses to it as well, so you could cast like the first one that's like has the lowest one, but it builds up with that +5 bonus for each spell you're concentrating on. That's fantastic.
That is amazing.
Now, it only can go for 3rd or lower spells, but that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. And
heads up, don't scroll down too far into the next page.
We're going to temporarily take the book off real quick to take a look.
Ooh.
Oh, no, we can't show that one. We can't show Chitter's latest profile pic. Anyway.
Okay, the worst part is you're not wrong, but fuck off.
How many times has Garson been right in this fucking call?
I know, I'm scared too.
This is terrifying. What the fuck are you?
Okay, let's get through this really quick.
Right, we got 2 more abilities to talk about.
Just really quickly. I have a lot of kinks. Everyone else is surprised when Chitter has a lot of kinks.
Boop.
Anyway.
Boop.
So, true statement. When you gain this feature, you may choose a word or statement that speaks to the core essence of your being, butt slut. That word as a statement is magically inscribed permanently upon your skin by ink, scarring, or any other appropriate method of choosing. When you choose a spell of 3rd level, so this is basically a magical tramp stamp, if I'm reading this right.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah, and what's fascinating about it is this is story built into a high-level feature, and I love it.
Yep.
Because here's the thing. You can choose a statement that fits thematically with that. And, like, for example, nobody notices me, and you choose invisibility. Well, imagine someone coming across that without context of the character. What do you mean no one notices you? And what reason did you have for writing that particular statement? it could either be positive or negative.
There you
That
go.
builds a backstory in a statement. For a
There you
high
go.
level character, that is hard to do.
It's
Like
true.
giving an elevator pitch for a low level character is easy. Giving an elevator pitch for a high level character is fucking hard.
It is. I can't deny that. I do like the concept of it. Again, it's third level or lower. I don't like that it is third. Third level's again fine. It's probably like I said the sweet spot for spells because there's a lot of really good third level spells. But
It also
eh,
also also you don't need to worry about any somatic or verbal components. So nothing about that
or
or expending a spell slot. You get 2 free casts of this spell a day.
that's really good. So like you could definitely use this for like again I use mage armor as the like example, but mage armor is probably the best spell to have on this type of wizard because it's a self spell. It's a concentration ability. It gives you AC, which is protection, and that's something that a lot of magic casters don't really have. So I really like
Also-
that.
I'm gonna just oh my god. I'm gonna list off these spells that are third level that have a range of self or touch. So spells that will work for this effect.
Okay.
So in alphabetical order, Asherlar Dallin Stride for the the extra fire speed thing.
Mm-hmm.
Bestow Curse, Blink, Feign Death,
I thought you
Flame
said one for
arrows.
a minute. I was like, what?
No, Blink.
Boink. Like, what?
Yeah. Fly, Gaseous Form, Glyph of Warding, which you probably wouldn't do. Tiny Hut, Lightning Bolt,
Ew.
Minute Meteors, Non-Detection, Protection from Energy, Remove Curse, Spirit Shroud, Tongues, and Vampiric Touch.
Those are all really good spells at third level.
Also,
Yeah, so having them for free is really good. Also, that's
Also-
going to be it for me, unfortunately.
Okay, go ahead,
Aw.
Cross. Thank you for joining us.
yeah, catch
You all
you
get big
later.
hugs.
Big
Take
hugs.
care.
Yay. Hey.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Yeah. Also, Garson,
Yes.
if I may, going back to the whole basically like using this as a way to build a backstory for a high level character,
Mm-hmm.
mage armor would be amazing for that. The statement in mind that I have in mind, that would be absolute, because mage armor seems like a pretty benign spell, like, oh, you just get some extra AC and whatnot. Like, how could you create a backstory out of a single statement with this? The statement written on them, I can only protect myself.
Ooh.
Ooh. Oh yeah.
Ooh, that's. Ooh.
I-
Mm.
Yeah. This
There,
is
there's
got a
your
lot of.
character there's your character in a nutshell.
And speaking of, let's tackle the last ability for this character, and that's Branding Incantation. When you cast a spell of fifth level or lower with a range of touch, a duration of instantaneous, and you either hit with an attack roll or the target fails a saving throw, you may mark the target's skin with the words and sigils of the spell. At the beginning of their turn, any creature marked in such a way must make a charisma saving throw against your spell, or they get the spell cast on them again.
And they automatically fail the required saving throws.
Oh, sweet Jesus. This kind of reminds me of like the Hemo Plague blood sorcerer ability that I was talking about with the chaining spells. You know how I love chaining magic.
Yeah, that is insane.
This is
Like that
yeah.
that's a great way to cap this class, because you're going from these words give only me meaning to, yeah, my words are power. Fuck you in particular.
Yeah, and I think that's probably okay. So I gotta admit that's pretty broken for a wizard ability. But the wizards are this one's at least pretty good, and then that's the last of the subclasses. And I would say maybe we'll do a bonus episode down the road with the magical items because
Yeah. Also, can I just throw out one final thing with that class that's going to terrify the shit out of you?
what's that?
Oh no.
So, there's a very iconic wizard spell that has a duration of instantaneous. Fireball. So
But
basically, you
wait, yeah, that last one's 5th
It's
level or lower.
multi-spam fireball.
so when you cast a 5th level or lower with a range of touch, oh damn it,
Yeah,
a
so
duration. Oh, it's an and. But either way, like imagine just straight up being like, "Fuck you," and just boom.
yeah, all right. And I think with that, we covered all the player creating stuff for the book, and I think we've gone through everything except the magical items. But we want to leave some surprises for the audience. So
Yeah, but
I think this is yeah.
if I may, there are a few spells that I would just like to just give a brief mention to, just because they weave their way into various different kinds of classes, just really quickly.
All right.
Honorable mention.
All right. Honorable mentions go to yes. Go ahead.
Some of the ones that come to mind, there's a cantrip that this book screams like LGBTQ friendly with, and it's alter sex. This is a cantrip, mind you, and you assume a different form, taking on the genitalia of your choosing. You may choose the specifics of the genitalia, such as whether it is circumcised or the hymen is intact. In addition, you may make subtle alterations to your physique, such as gaining or losing breasts, changing your jawline or hair length style, but you must remain the same race you were before casting the spell. Any creature that is familiar with you will still recognize you despite these changes. If a creature is affected by this spell with the same specific details every day for a month, the effect becomes permanent.
Wow.
That's interesting.
And if you cast this spell using a spell slot of 3rd level or higher, you may instead target a willing creature within 5 feet of you. So you can be like, I cast Give Dick.
I cast
Like that
grow
phrasing.
penis. Wait, what? Ah!
And if you cast it using a spell slot of 5th level or higher, it's just you can automatically make it permanent.
Oh,
There's some
take away his balls.
Yeah. Wait, what? No! That's a dark and disturbing thought, but
There's
It's good.
there's also a spell that's perfect for the chastity cleric called Aspect of Planifolia. When you cast this spell, you lose all pleasure and pain points you currently have until the spell ends. I love this text flavoring. You cannot gain pleasure or pain as your conceptual self eschews deriving importance from such sensations.
in English,
Basically just, I am above this.
I must go. The horny needs me. Anyway.
Another one is, this is one that's just, like, it's the horny bless, but it's bliss. While within 15 feet of you, creatures of your choosing gain a +2 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws, so long as they have 1 or more pleasure. As a bonus action on your turn, you may have a willing creature within range gain 1 pleasure. That's a 1st level spell. Then there. Sorry, I have a couple more that I want to do because they're
all
cool.
right. Just go ahead.
There's one that I did want to mention. It's called Collaring Ceremony. So basically, you determine how many people are wearing collars and who is in charge of them, and basically When two or more creatures that have taken this oath are within 30 feet of each other, each gains a +1 bonus to their AC and a +1 bonus to their saving throws. They also have, if your creature is wearing the collar, they have advantage on saving throws and ability checks that would magically compel it to take a course of action by a creature other than one that affixed the collar for this oath. In addition, creatures that have taken this oath may once per day cast a sending spell without a spell slot or having the spell prepared. They may only target another creature that is part of the oath. When one collar is removed, the entire thing ends. And collars are really big in BDSM, as they basically serve like different levels of seriousness, ranging from a collar of consideration. I've actually worn these collars, and it's not surprising, but there's the collar of consideration, which is basically your top or your master or your however you want to word it is considering you. The training collar is you basically learning the routines, and then when you finally get the formal collar, basically that is, I have trained you to be my perfect submissive, my perfect pet, my perfect slut, and now I think you are ready. Or it could just be as simple as a protective relationship or used in play, but those often don't involve ceremonies and are just kind of given. I don't want to say casually, because that's not fair, but it's along those lines. Also, just two more things, just really quickly to add. One, this is a spell that everyone knew had to be in this book, as much as we joke about it. Golden spray.
Know what that reference is.
And the material component for it, and Neffy, if you know anything about food, you know why this is included as the material component. A sprig of asparagus. You have to make a dex save within it, all creatures within a 15-foot cone must make a dex saving throw as a torrent of acrid fluid issues
Okay.
forth.
Okay. No. You're gonna get us. You're gonna get us a copy. You're gonna get us a strike on YouTube for that one. No. Moving on. Moving on. No.
Just beep.
No. No. Anyway, moving on to it. We got one last thing to talk about before we talk about what we're going to be discussing next week, and that's let's give our final thoughts on Kinks and Cantrips, because we have been talking about this for about 5 weeks now.
I love this book.
Yeah, this was a
personally.
good book. I will say this, based on the enemies, the gameplay mechanics, the world, and the subclasses, I think we've covered pretty much everything that most people would want to cover to decide if you're going to buy this book.
Here for the enemies?
Yeah, we did. Like 3 weeks. It was with the leather dragon.
Oh.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can see that episode on YouTube right now if you haven't seen it already.
Also, just one final thing. There are also thematic sigils, which are basically succubi marks.
Okay, now
Ooh.
anyway, let's give our final thoughts on the book. My final thought is this. If you're looking for an adult-oriented campaign that allows you to explore a lot of topics that are hard to discuss in a group setting, in a very safe space, this is probably going to be a great book to start with. I would say that obviously this is not meant for anyone in high school. You should be an adult about this, because these are talking about very adult concepts, and we want to treat them with, well, titties are one thing, but like the fact is that these are delving into kinks that normal people have probably only had very tangential. And when I say normal, I don't say there's anything wrong with it. I'm saying like in the grand scheme of people on Earth that you're tackling. Yeah, in reality, there's a lot of kinks that probably they're not familiar with. So these are going to be that introduction to it. If you do make a campaign about this book,
please be careful.
Yeah. Please be careful and treat it with respect.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like even Garson and Neffy, who are not exactly prudes by any stretch of the imagination. Like Frost,
Ayo.
Frost isn't a prude by any stretch of the imagination. Bun hasn't been. Neko hasn't been. Everyone who's been on this podcast, you would be very hard pressed. And this is not an insult to any of you guys. You would be very hard pressed to call them normal or vanilla. And even they had concepts in this book that were like, I've never heard of that.
Exactly. And that's not a bad thing. I'm saying, like, some of
Yeah.
these I've never even heard of, and I didn't know anything about that. But at this point, it's very obvious that they are tackling adult subject matter, but they're also setting it in a way that you can explore it in a safe spot that allows them to get a good feeling about it and you learn something maybe about yourself that you probably weren't aware of. And that's a good
And that,
thing.
yeah. And if I may give my thoughts on it, as someone who comes from a BDSM background, like a lot of BDSM background, a disturbing amount of BDSM background.
We know.
Yes, Chitter, we're well aware of that. Please go with what you're trying to explain.
Go into high detail about
Yeah. This book gave a very, very truthful and very respectful approach to this. This book took a lot of subject matter that couldn't come from just one person. And the amount of unique ideas that they did into this, because the thing is, a lot of time with a lot of time with sex being implemented into like otherwise non-sexy topics is you end up a lot of times with like the GTA hot coffee incident where the act alone is treated as so taboo that it's so that the very existence of it is bad. This book
Mhm.
said, what if the good was consensual? What if the bad was non consensual? And it kind of goes with that guideline in place. There are things in it that would make. Okay, I'm going to come out and say this. There are things in this book where if someone came to you and said, even in the world of Bundhiem, that I want to do X, Y, or Z, you would look at them and be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I know it's consensual, but what the fuck is wrong with you? And that's not because it's bad, it's because it's so far out of that realm of normalcy that you're just like, what the fuck? What the fuck is broken in you?
Who hurt
Like,
you?
like for example, with the rogue, there's the gimp suits and the needle play. Imagine telling someone in reality that your kink is needles. That no one, unless they themselves have it, is going to be like, yeah, I totally get that. That is completely fine and understandable off the bat. No, you would have to explain, no, I'm not. I'm not self-harming. I'm not a masochist. Well, masochist, yes. Uh, uh,
Yeah, what
Let's
about the
we're gonna leave a little bit of a little bit of a disclaimer. Chitter does not speak for everyone. Chitter can only speak for herself and herself only.
yeah, but the thing is that a lot of these kinks, if you try to get someone on Tinder for fuck's sake and be like, I want to do this kink, that person,
They would look at you like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they would, and that's Tinder.
75,
You'd be so confused.
75% of these kinks would end you up either at the police station or the psych ward.
Most likely the psych ward.
Most likely the psych ward.
And as someone who has engaged in these kinks for a long time and probably definitely should have been in a lot more physical harm than I have been.
Mhm.
Please don't do the things I've done. Please don't. Like
Don't
that's
be
just
me.
just like this is a genuine warning. Don't do some of the things I've done. They're dangerous, and I should have ended up dead in some situations, and that's not a joke. Like I know we joke about things, but some of the things I've done have genuinely like people have said, "How have you not ended up dead or worse?" And that's not a joke. This is why kinks are so serious because if you don't take it seriously, you can end up in so much pain, harm, and so much worse. Like this book is a great way to do it safely, and I applaud that this book exists. But please, just as my final thoughts, if you're interested in any of the play that's mentioned, either get several guides on how to do it safely or
Mhm.
go with someone who knows what they're doing. There's sites out there that can help get you started. There's there's resources out there. One of my favorites to get like a starting point for this because this has to be said for this kind of book. One of my favorites for getting started, at least, to figure out where you would go with your play is BDSM test. Just search that up on Google, and it will pull up like a test of like what your potential roles could be, what you could be interested in, and it gives you a great starting point. Another one would be like any site that specifically focuses on like meeting like experienced people like meetups and whatnot. Be careful with those, but if it's just a meetup or like a convention or whatnot, you're typically safer than going for a one-to-one meetup. Don't ever go for a one-to-one meetup if you're inexperienced and new to this. Always go to a
Yeah.
group setting or go to like a convention to learn more because there will be people there who know the trusted people in those in your local communities. I know we've made a lot of jokes and stuff about stuff today, but that is something you cannot joke about. It is extremely dangerous to do so otherwise. I would know.
I really don't know
Anyways,
what else to add to that.
Neffy, your final thoughts?
I learned a lot. I'm just gonna say that right now. But I think I would have to say my favorite subclass would either be the blood sorcerer. What was it called again?
The blood play sorcerer.
Yes, the blood play sorcerer and the uh okay, I'm gonna out myself here, but the latex one.
The latex
Uh,
ranger.
Yes.
oh yeah, that one's amazing. And
Well,
there's no outing each other. This is a safe space and no judgment.
well,
Okay, thank God.
well. I think that's everything we got to say about Kinks and Cantrips. It's time to put this book on the shelf, and we'll probably come back to it one day just to maybe review it. Maybe around like when we get a big anniversary episode, we'll probably discuss. We definitely want to talk about that at one point. But
Yes, we're definitely considering on another site, Blue Twitch, going to do a campaign or at least a one shot with this book. Aren't we, Garson?
yeah, sure,
Tee
whatever.
Aren't we, Garson?
Yeah, sure, whatever.
What do you mean, sure, whatever?
Zim, are your parents showing up for parent teacher night? Yeah, sure, whatever. Why did you record that? Now, before we go, and we're not going to go too deep into this, but I want to just briefly talk about what we're going to be talking about next week. And that is we're going to be looking at a brand new book called Obojima, Tales from the Tall Grass. This is not going to feature as much sexy stuff, but I did want to mention because I wanted to say this. I love Studio Ghibli. Just look at the artwork on this thing real quick.
It's beautiful.
Oh, it is. It very much is. This is more of a calm, cozy D&D setting. So this is going to be for like low energy, like those who don't like to be overstimulated. Though this is going to be like a great
aftercare.
Yes,
This is gonna be aftercare.
Pretty much, yeah. We're gonna be talking about this for a couple of weeks. I just want to say this point I'm very looking much forward to, but we're not going to go too much into it. I just want to let everyone know that this is what we're going to be talking about next week. I'm going to be giving a PDF to everybody who wants to talk about it. And Yeah, no, I think Kinks and Cantrips was a fantastic book. And also, there's a sequel coming out soon, so we're probably going to be talking about that one when it comes out again.
Oh boy!
Yep.
Yeah, it's basically advanced Kinks and Cantrips with new subclasses, new status effects that are really interesting, including humiliation, and it's great.
Ooh, ooh.
All right, but that's for the next episode. We're gonna end it here, folks. I want to once again thank everyone who joined us. I want to thank Bun, Neffy, Cross, and of course my co-host Chitter, who has been with us through this entire trip. Next week we'll probably not have Cross because they will try to show up when they can. But regardless, we'll be talking about the new book. We'll be talking about the new classes and some other factors. I really don't know how to, and this is like the first time I don't really know how to end an episode because, like, at all.
Clip up.
Well, we'll be happy to see you guys for Obojima and any other books that come down the line.